The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Are you ready to take a journey? Let's connect with the healers of the world. It's that time. It's time for the Language of Healing on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Now here's your host, Emotional Wisdom Training Specialist Nicole Fortin.
Good day, everybody. Happy Friday. Another great week has passed by. We're coming up to the end of January. We're the 28th of January now. So how are things going with you? How have you made it through the holidays? You know, in the Northern Hemisphere here, we're kind of on the upside of winter, although it's still very cold and snowy. And so we've spent a lot of this last month here on the Language of Healing talking about setting intentions or reevaluating what is really important to you, what matters to you. And a lot of the main things that people are wanting in their lives are around health, healthy body, fit body, able to move around without pain and function optimally so you can enjoy time with your family and the great outdoors and doing the activities that you love that nourish your body. We're also looking at relationships, how we interact in relation to ourselves, how we react and respond in relation to others, and of course, making an impact and wanting to contribute to the world and helping our communities and getting together with those people that really support and respect you and that mutual growth that can happen in community and the power that has for us. So, you know, maybe over the holiday season, you took some time to reflect on what is really important to you and what is it that you really value and cherish, and what are some things that you can do to keep your intentions lasting throughout the year. You know, we often they just fall by the wayside a couple of weeks after we set them because we haven't really set them, you know, clearly. Maybe it's not as connected to our true core being, our body, our heart, our mind. What do all three of those things want? And a lot of that space, because there are so many distractions in our modern world, and, you know, with digital things, we've got, you know, instant communication with our phones and our computers, you know, email, we can reach out. And so the boundary of self gets, I don't know, a little muddy is what comes to mind. So we're working with clearing our space, getting real clear boundaries, doing things that really support and nurture and fuel us so we can be in a state of happiness and peace and health. And, you know, just getting better at learning to respond to those things in our environment, and finding that anchor that keeps us grounded. One thing that really, really helps me getting, you know, in that space, in that energetic space, when I want to imagine and create and dream and wish, and when I really want to connect with my heart's desires, there's a space that exists where you can be receiving information and just, you know, gathering more information about yourself. And it's really through music and sound. And I know it's like, you know, I have definitely certain music, you know, songs that make me feel joyous and happy and pump me up. And then there's pieces of music that really help calm and focus my attention. So then I can create more easily, more flow, more free. There's like less distraction. The clutter is removed. That sluggishness is gone. It's just free flowing information, clarity. And this is what we're working with today. our guest is really a pioneer in this new age music, using crystal bowl healing, and I'm just so blown away, I guess, or just impressed with the healing properties of sound. And this is very, very ancient technology, we'll even say, but I think it's just very natural. Humans do it, animals do it. We all communicate through sounds, even speech, language. It's just a variation of sound, and words have the vibration, and our thoughts have vibration. Everything is vibration, really. So, we just, in the little bio of this episode, I talked about Edgar Cayce, who you may or may not know. He was born in 1877, and he was known as the sleeping prophet. So he would be able to get into a trance or a meditative state and be able to receive information and share. So people would come to him with all sorts of health conditions, illnesses, and anyway, through this state, a lot of things came out almost as prophecies. And he's not the only one that has said sound is medicine, or sound is the medicine of the future. Sound has been medicine for ever since we've been in existence. We are conceived through sound, and we hear sound, and like, we just are vibration. Everything, vibration is matter. And from traditional Chinese medicine, I talk a lot about what qi, the concept of qi, and it's not just energy. It's material and immaterial and everything in between. So how can we play with sound, to create more of what we want and get in that state that really juices us up and raises our level of vibration, raises our state of being, so we can be more open to receiving the things that we really want, and open to receiving the clarity in order to know what it is that we want. Because that's often step number one, knowing what you want. Yes. So just take some time here with me to ground in. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And just grounding in your sit bones. And imagine a space where you are light. And light is all around you. It is you. There's no worries. Imagine a space where there's no worries, no pain. And imagine the sound that can take you there. So just opening up to that sound. So I'm going to introduce our guest for today, Ashana from Sound of Ashana, who is a world internationally recognized musician and artist and crystal bowl master of crystal bowls. And so let's open our invitation to her with this sound clip of one of her songs, and we'll just start off with this. We'll just tune in and enjoy. Wonderful. Please welcome Ashana.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
Welcome to my ballroom.
Yeah, it looks very impressive. I'm just really drawn to the colors, and it must be glorious in there.
It's pretty amazing, actually. Yes. I have to.
Yes. Yeah. So this is quite a collection. Well, why don't you just open up maybe a little bit about the crystal bowls, and how have you acquired this amazing collection? How have they come into your life? I'm sure each of them has quite a unique story as well.
That's a long story, Nicole. They didn't just appear overnight. I mean, this this has been growing. I've been playing bowls for 22 years. So in my ballroom here, there are about 90 or 100 bowls in here, in spaces that you can't see. There are more bowls. I started playing crystal bowls back in, I think it was 1999 was the first time I played a bowl. And someone a mentor of mine at the time, had reached out to me in a phone call and said, have you ever heard of crystal singing bowls? And I said, no. And she said, this is right up your alley. At that time, I wasn't really doing anything consciously with sound and vibrational healing. I've been a professional musician really since I'm 15 years old. And so I did lots and lots of music, conservatory trained, all of that, classical music, opera, early music, musical theater, jazz, improvisational music, all of that kind of stuff was in my background. And here she called this one day and said, I think you should check out crystal singing bowls. And I was just, okay. And I literally ordered one sight unseen. I didn't think about it. I just said yes, because I trusted her so much. And about 3 weeks later, it arrived on my doorstep. I love telling this story. I was living in New Mexico at the time. I lived in Santa Fe for about 17 years. And it arrived in this huge box. I mean, it was a gigantic box. And I put it on my kitchen table. And I opened up the box, and there were like 8 bazillion peanuts. And inside was another box. So it was like doing Russian dolls. And I pulled out the other box, and I opened up the box, and there were 8 bazillion peanuts. And I dug around in this, and I pulled out this bowl. It wasn't like the bowls that you see here. These were called the classic frosted bowls. So much, much heavier, and a fairly big bowl. It was about 14 inches. I took it out. I put it on its little O-ring. And when I say an O-ring, it looks like this. It's something that we put on the bowl so that the bowl doesn't touch the surface of anything except the silicone. And I put it down on my kitchen table, and I picked up a mallet, which looks similar to this one. And I tapped the side of the bowl. And the minute I heard that sound, I mean, literally the second I heard that sound, I started crying. Because the first thought that I had was that light had come to live in my house. And I was astonished by that. And the very second thought I had, like it was like a nanosecond behind it, was that one day I'm going to put these into music. And 3 weeks later, I had 7. I manifested 7 bowls almost instantly. It was almost like the universe just said, this is it. This is the direction you're going. And we are going to do everything we can to support you. And that is true. And it has been that way for me ever since. I believe that that's one of the signs that we have when we know that we are following a soul's calling. And soul's calling makes all the difference in the world. Because literally, when you have the soul's calling, the universe just conspires to give you the impetus, the energy, the resources. When you say full on yes to it, everything just gathers and moves you forward. And that's exactly what happened. So I started playing bowls for people about 2 years later. For a while, I just played for myself to get into the experience of playing. And I started doing music with them. I started leading, before anybody even heard of a sound bath, I was doing sound baths. And I never called them a sound bath. It always felt really peculiar to me why anybody, when I first heard the term, I was like, what? Because to me, they were light activations. They were sound activations. They were sound healing experiences. But it's okay. I love the term sound bath now because it's like just bathing yourself in these beautiful vibrations. But originally there were no sound baths. There were just, the few of us, and there weren't a lot, the few of us that were actually using crystal singing bowls in sound and vibrational healing experiences, or meditation experiences, or music experiences, or some combination of all of that. So I began doing that. And in 2005, about 6 years later, I met my producer, Thomas Barkey, through some incredible synchronistic events. Again, that was the universe conspiring. And he said to me, why don't you just send me a demo of what you're doing? And I did. I put together a song that I was working on with the bowls, and I sent it to him. And he said, if I was going to produce you, I would produce you as a healing music artist. And that was amazing to me because I had, as I said, this whole background of all these other things. But now it was this fusion of bowls and song and music. And literally 2 months later, or it was about June, I met him June 21st, September 21st, on the autumn equinox in 2005, we went into the studio, and the first song we recorded was a song called Ave Maria, which I wrote. And it literally has touched and healed people all over the world. Oftentimes just by simply hearing it over the internet. And to this day, that is continuing to happen. So we've already made about 8 albums together, more coming out this year. And over the course of time, I began learning more and more and more about the crystal bowls. And in 2003, I discovered the alchemy bowls made by a company called Crystal Tones. And these are bowls that have been infused and overlaid with precious gemstones, minerals, and metals. And that's what you see here, all behind me. These are alchemy bowls. And little by little, I just began saying yes. And they started showing up in my life. I started helping people almost immediately to find the bowls that are right for them. And I do that to this day. So when somebody is really searching to bring crystal bowls into their lives, that is one of the things that I do to support people. And so they just accumulated. I probably bring in 1 or 2 a year now. I've had to slow down because I don't have any more room. But people ask me, do you really play all of these? And my answer is yes, I do. It's been slowed down since everything with COVID, because we've been restricted in going out and doing live performances and all of that. But we're just getting ready now. We've got everything set up to do live stream healing concerts. So that's going to be happening really soon. But that's kind of the story in a nutshell. I love them, and I love sharing them with people.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And I love that, just like you said, like the universe has kind of conspired to support this, because when you do find something that's really in flow, with what you're supposed to be doing, your purpose, your soul's purpose, it's like effortless, right? I mean, there are challenges, of course, that come along the way, but it's like there's that anchor that's like, no, this is it. So, and I love the word universe, when you break it down, and it means universe. So it's one song. And I think that, when you can tap into that current, right, that flow, it's just like endlessly supported. And so we can find you at soundofashana.com, www.soundofashana.com.
Yeah.
And you're on Spotify, and you can, buy your albums on Apple. And yes, I've heard that song, Ave Maria. Is that what you say? I say, yeah. Gorgeous. Your music is gorgeous, and really just supportive in like getting in that space. Because it's like, I want to conspire with the universe, I want to be in that flow where things just kind of showing up. And I think that's what this is all about. And there's so much evidence, and many, many journals, scientific journals, and ancient shamanic practices using sound as medicine. And we're finding more and more that it does affect our nervous system and our connectivity of nerves. Lots of research around things like, with the Alzheimer's or dementia or fibromyalgia or cancer, really anything, it can be healed because it's all just a frequency, right?
Well, the working with crystal bowls as a support for any kind of medical protocol, whether it's allopathic in nature or whether it's alternative nature, working with sound and vibrational frequencies, crystal bowls, harps, drums, didgeridoos, flutes, whatever you're drawn to, can be a tremendous support. I mean, when you first started talking about Edgar Cayce and sound is medicine, I want to draw people's attention to one thing that was very important that you said. And that is that sound and healing with sound and sound as medicine has been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Right now, sound healing is very much trending. And so I'm glad we're having this conversation because so many people think of it as something that's very new, but actually very, very, very old. Right. There's a wonderful story, Pythagoras, who is considered the father of medicine. And he was a tremendous advocate for healing through diet, healing through nutrition, healing through, I believe, through herbs, but also through music. And so what would happen, there are these marvelous stories about him that when people would have a mental disorder, or they would be very agitated, they would be stressed out emotionally. And of course, they didn't use those words as stress, but they would be affected by the humors, or they would be, the mind would be affected in there would be distortions in the way the person's behavior would be. And he would send them to the musicians, and musicians were considered the healers. I want to say this again. It was the musicians that were considered the healers. And so people would come to the healers, and they would play, usually in ancient Greece, it was playing some form of a harp. It would call it a lyre, or an Aeolian harp. I do believe they had flutes, and I can't remember the specific name of them, that were multi-flutes that were played also. And they used specific combination of musical notes. And we call those scales, but at that time they were called modes. And there would be specific modes that were played to address people's physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual symptoms or illness. So can you just imagine having a physician nowadays who would say to you, when you were, let's just say if you were going through cancer, or you were going through diabetes issues, or you were going through something like that, and they would say, let us prescribe for you this sound, this music, in order to facilitate and help you heal. It wasn't the only thing that did that. And it's very important for people to understand this. Music is not the only thing that will help somebody heal. It is part of a whole, of a complementary whole. In my experience, that we integrate whatever protocols are being advised to us by our doctors, by our nurse practitioners, or by our naturopathic physicians, or by our healers in whatever capacity that we are aligned with, that works for us, that we're in resonance with. And we go to those people and we work with them. We work with the herbs, we work with diet, we work with exercise, we work with discernment of our spiritual and emotional states of being. And this is where music and sound, vibrational healing, is so powerful, Because what happens is, just in oftentimes a few moments of playing, literally just moments of playing, as you were describing, Nicole, the nervous system begins to soften and relax. So the respiration changes, the breathing slows down, our heart rate begins to slow. Oftentimes the blood pressure begins to ease. Now think about this in terms of anybody here that's listening, that's working with issues around heart issues, cardiovascular issues, lung and breathing concerns. So all of this begins to just ease, gentle. And what happens is that the body on all levels begins to relax. Come into a state of deep, deep relaxation and spaciousness. Oftentimes people who have chronic or serious or debilitating illnesses, when they work with sound and vibration, when they go to the sound baths, when they have their own crystal singing bowls or therapeutic harps. I have one of those sitting next to me now. When we work with those sounds and we integrate them in a daily practice in our lives, my clients and my students, easing of PTSD, easing of depression, easing of anxiety, of stress, cancer begins to, our cancer protocols and treatments for serious illness, they're supported immeasurably by music and sound vibration, because it allows the body to de-stress, to move into a state out of anxiety. And when you can move out of anxiety, you begin this, as I said, spaciousness that begins to open up. And what happens inside that state? We can see things from a new perspective. We can ask questions that perhaps we never thought of asking. We can see possibilities that perhaps we never thought of. At the very, very least, and perhaps this is the very most, we begin to open up the space so we can make that connection. We make that soul connection. And when I say soul, I mean SOUL and SOLE, that one connection between us, the divine, you call it source, call it divine intelligence, call it God, goddess, creator. We make that connection and it becomes visceral. I think this is one of the most important things, especially working with the crystal singing bowls, therapeutic harps, mantra, chanting, vocals. We have this opportunity to reconnect with our spirit. And there's all kinds of ramifications and implications in this. When we do this, we have the opportunity to expand our creative self, right? We're going beyond illness now, or physical illness now, emotional illness now. We step into our creativity. We step into our potential. We start opening up to deeper and more tangible ways of working with our intentions. You know, the crystal, the properties of pure quartz crystal are, in a nutshell, to amplify energy, to transmit energy, to store or contain energy, and to transduce or transform energy. So imagine taking your intentions, right? Taking all those intentions. You've been working so hard on this past month, right, of January, and say, oh, I want to bring in more love into my life. I want to bring in more prosperity in my life. I want to bring more peace into my life. I want to bring in more joy into my relationships with the world. I want to possibly bring in a new career, a new job where I can live my life's purpose, where I can contribute to the world. So imagine blending this, holding this intention, creating a field of sound and vibration that supports this energy and intention with the vibrations of quartz crystal, which are amplifying that. They are transmitting that into the etheric realms where they can be literally picked up and carried to wherever it is they need to go. Imagine if you play bowls like I do on a regular basis. Now, this beautiful carnelian bowl I have had for many, many, many years. Just think about this for a minute. Every time I do my prayer work, and every bowl in this room, right? Every time I do my prayer work, the bowl is absorbing it. It's being contained inside this sound, right? So that every time I sit down to play it again and again and again and again, my intentions, my prayers, my mantras, my spiritual connection with the divine is vibrating through me again. It becomes cumulative.
Yeah, because intentions really do just build on top of each other. You know, they're not really like, it's not just 1 year you're this, 1 year you're that, or this day, that day. It's a cumulative effect.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is where then that alchemical piece comes in.
Yes.
When we talk about, and you know, alchemy is, you know, basically turning you know, lead into gold kind of thing, turning something basic into something precious, and that transformational process that is in there.
Yes. Yes, I tell my students all the time, you know, the students and the people that I work with who are bringing bowls into their lives, you know, when you look at this, and I'll bring another one just so you can see another one, right?
Yeah.
So here's another one.
This is like aqua aura.
No, this one is called a grandmother bowl. Yeah,
Oh.
I believe that every woman on the planet needs one of these, but we can go into that later.
Sure. We'll all be signing up here. Sound of Ashana. Give me my crystal singing bowls.
I can help you.
Yeah, okay.
This is a beautiful grandmother bowl, and it is pure quartz crystal that's been infused with iron. And why is iron so important? Well, you absolutely can tell me, Dr. Nicole, why iron is so important to our bodies. Can you not?
Well, I mean, yes. But I think what first comes to mind, obviously, from the, you know, traditional Chinese medicine standpoint, looking at iron, it's heavy. It's like it helps us, you know, produce that material blood substance. Like we can't all be airy. We can't be all upper. We have to be in the material world. And I think that's where we experience like pain and pleasure and all the senses, right? And I think that we often want to like escape that or we avoid or deflect but I think iron and that quality of that heavy anchoring substance is really supportive to our body, you know, being here in reality, but also the grounding connecting point into like gold, right? Or whatever of the precious, you know,
the precious metals.
Yeah.
And think about, you know, what your blood is made of. The red blood cells.
Exactly.
Iron is a tremendous component for your health and vitality. I mean, you need iron. I can tell you this amazing story about you know, the homeopathic quality of iron that is present in the alchemy crystal singing bowls. And back in 2007, I was going through menopause, and I lost tremendous amounts of blood, and I ended up being in the hospital and doing all kinds of stuff around that. And a few weeks later, after I was starting on my healing process, I was singing at a conference. And the people that make my bowls, Crystal Tones, they actually had a booth there at the conference. And I walked into the booth and I started looking, and I saw these bowls. They were sitting there and they looked like this, right? they look like this one. So it looks like a big giant creamsicle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're gorgeous. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So I saw these, creamsicle bowls, and I went straight to them, and I started playing them. And this one was a practitioner bowl, which means a bowl with a handle on it, and I could show you.
Yeah.
You can't see them, but
There's one behind you, actually, I think, right? The green one?
there is. That one, that aqua one.
So it has a stem off of the bowl, so you can hold it. Yeah.
Pure crystal stem. So I was holding in my hand and I was playing it, and I was drunk. I mean, I was drunk. I was like, I'm seriously, that is the face that I made. That is very close to the sound I made at the time. And I was just like, I was this way with this bowl. And I looked up at my friend who was helping me. She was working for Crystal. What is this? What's this made of? And she said, iron. It was the other one of these, which we call this laughing Buddha. So this is the opaque version, and this is the clear version. But I had lost so much blood. I was actually anemic. I had never seen these bowls before. I had never seen a laughing Buddha bowl before. I had never seen a grandmother before. But my body knew. My energy knew. Something in my vibrational field went straight for that iron bowl and started playing it and drinking it like a starving woman. That is how powerful the frequency of these bowls can be. So when you have the different properties of, rose quartz, amethyst, citrine, gold, palladium, silver, platinum, the minerals, we have like 4 different kinds of salts. We use indium and vanadium, abalone shell. And I mean, I can't think of them all in the moment, but if I look around, I can start naming them for you. But every single one of those gemstones, minerals, metals, gemstones, minerals, and metals, has a particular energetic frequency and vibration that nourishes, supports, enhances, activates, can help us energetically. And I like to call it, homeopathic sound medicine, right? Because we're just we're taking these tiny, tiny vibrations of the frequency, and we're literally bringing it into our bodies through the fluids of our bodies and through our energetic field. And this is how the sound and vibration gets to enter in and literally be transported to every single one of our cells. And then when you add that, you amplify that, you transmit that on quartz crystal base and on the sound itself, because water is nature's greatest conductor of sound. When you add that into the mix, you are literally humming with frequency. Your whole body is vibrating, and your whole body, all your energy bodies in your energy field, which is the physical form, is the densest of your energy field. So all your energy bodies, including the densest form as the physical, are being fed. They're being fed, they're being supported, they're being nourished, they're being treated, they're being enhanced, uplifted, enlivened, balanced, by the frequencies of the metals, the minerals, the gemstones, and the sounds that are being offered to it. And because it's tiny, tiny, tiny little, I'm using this word loosely, homeopathic, right? If you get too much of it, it's not going to hurt you. You can't get hurt by, if I'm playing this and you have too much iron in your body, you're going to get hurt by this. You won't. Probably what'll happen in that case is you just will go, no, thanks. I don't think I want any more of that sound. Or you'll go,
right, like you're satiated.
Yeah,
you're filled up. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like you go, well, I had enough chocolate. I think I'll just go eat some almonds now,
Yeah.
so it's that kind of a thing.
Yeah, we had a comment. It's very beautiful and inspiring. Thank you, Heather. I agree. This work is very beautiful and inspiring. And like you said, it really creates that spaciousness.
Yeah.
And I like how you brought in the water because, sound does travel faster. I think 70 times faster through water than air, right? I don't know if that's stat, but something.
Right.
And even you think about like our internet, this wireless connectivity, it's actually cables that run under the ocean, like they're in the ocean,
what?
and
I
maybe
didn't
that's
know that.
yeah. So we think it's like this airy thing, but it's actually very material and running across continents through the ocean. It connects the world, and I just think of like even the vibration of that,
Well, think of the absorbability of water, right?
Mhm.
And how the water molecules themselves are tremendously influenced by what is happening around them. I mean, Dr. Emoto showed this to us in the what was the name of his book?
The healing messages of water. Yeah.
Messages of water. And then we have Lynn McTaggart, who's been doing work with the Power of 8 and intentions of healing. She talks a lot about how water and intentions, they all go together, because she took the experiments of Dr. Emoto and actually used them in some ways as baselines for all the work that she did around intentions with focusing group energy on healing. So, which gets me to doing sound baths and group sound healings or one-on-one sound healing sessions with people. You bring in the vibration, and then you bring in the intentions, which is where we started talking at the top of the hour, right? You bring in the intentions in, and you start amplifying them through collective focused thought and through quartz crystal sound. Then you have intentions on steroids.
That's huge. That's universal, right? It's like massive. I think unlimited. Yeah. It's amazing. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I was just going to say this is different than just doing it with, let's just say, a crystal. So here's a beautiful crystal stone. This is not pure quartz crystal, but it's actually blue tourmaline, and so let's just say, you work with this, you meditate this with, you focus this, you use this in focused healing. But now imagine if you could take this stone and then you put a sound to it. You put a sound to it. Now the vibration of the stone is literally running through every part of you.
Wow.
Where it didn't quite get to do that at the same level inside this form. Right? So I
guess like the vibration helps it move, right? It's amplifying. It's like the ripples traveling through the sound or the water that is our body too. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You have the sonic vibration itself. You have the note, the pitch, the tone itself that literally is vibrating, and it's doing its own effect on everything as well. And then you have the sound carrying the frequency of the intention of the quartz crystal, of the iron in this case, all of that, everything. It's like one big beautiful natural offering of frequency into the biofield, into the physical. Right. So it's impacting the emotions, it's impacting the mind, it's impacting the physiognomy, and it's impacting one's ability and predilection to connect with spirit. So, all of that's happening inside this, and it's happening right inside something beautiful like this beautiful blue tourmaline. It's happening there too. Right. But it's not happening in the same way. And so, why not have both?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and I love this because, traditional Chinese medicine is such an ancient practice as well. And the way that they describe qi, the character of it is steam. It's like two components to this qi. It's steam and it's rice. So it's the immaterial and the material.
Yeah.
And then so qi and blood, or qi and shui, they travel together. They're not really separate, but they are the same, but they're separate ends of the spectrum, but together. So if we have these ideas or intentions or dreams, desires, they're kind of like in that etheric realm, right? And then how can we move it then into more of a reality, move it into our body and more of a reality? And through just what you showed there, holding the crystal, with the sound, it blends the two together, to make it fully last, because it's like, if it just lives in one realm and not the other, it's not balanced out, then there isn't that harmony, that like the great symphony of it all, coming into fruition.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I would say that there isn't the harmony, because there's certainly harmony in the quartz crystals and the stones and the vibrations that they have.
So maybe it's an enriched. It just adds elements.
It's a new consciousness. It's a new being, just as this is consciousness in and of itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then this becomes a new consciousness to work with. And this consciousness is working with this consciousness and creating an alchemy. And inside that alchemy, where the observer is observing, right? That's quantum physics now. So the observer effect. So observing the bowl, holding my intention for healing, for well-being, for peace, for connection to the divine. Now this becomes greater. Now this has changed and this has changed. And the effect ripples, right? Mm-hmm. And then we add the sound and vibration frequency to it. And now I play that intention and it goes out, right? Mm. It goes out and it has a direct effect on the physical and on the biofield, So it's more easily felt by, a human or an animal. Or I know when I go out and play my bowls outside, the birds all start singing. Mm-hmm. So that it just goes like this.
Love it. It's been so wonderful to speak with you. Our time has just flown by. Well, I'd love to have you come join us again and keep this discussion going. Yeah. So yes, we can find you at soundofashana.com.
Yes, you can.
And so any listeners, check that out, reach out to Ashana and check out her music and crystal singing bowls. And I noticed that I just love that sound of the bowls when you're playing. I wonder if you could play a little bit, maybe just a couple seconds and
I'll give you this.
Thank you. And we'll wrap up today. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ashana, and sharing your beautiful gifts and musics and talents and all of your knowledge on the crystal singing bowls. I learned so much, and it's beautiful and inspiring indeed. So for our listeners, I'll ask you, what will you take with you from this conversation that will support you for the rest of your life?
Wow, what a show today, and the journey does not stop here. Come travel the world with Nicole every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time as together we become more fluent in the language of healing on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV. See you next week.